In February 1996, I lost my mom to her battle with HIV, and she died from acquired immune deficiency syndrome. At that time, I was 24 years old, had just graduated college 2 years before, had recently gotten married, and at that time it was difficult for me as an only child, being raised by a single mom, to think about how to move forward in life on my own without my mother. But I've made it. I am grateful for having her in my life for the time that I had, because I know many people who may have family members affected by HIV may not have been blessed to have as many years with their loved ones as I did. But I would say as I entered motherhood, it was just very difficult to imagine raising my children without my mother. But again, being grateful for all the lessons and the time that I had with her. In addition to having moved across the country and being away from my family and beginning my life. I think having lost my mother so early, I wish, or some of the things that I regretted, was that our society had not at that time known as much about the disease, and treatments were not as advanced as they were today. So sometimes I think if she was living in this time, there'd be more hope for her to still be around or with me. And I think it's a short story that I had chosen not to share often with others. I have come to share it with friends as of now, but I know initially as a young person, I never really shared her story because of the stigma associated with someone having HIV. You know, in terms of, I guess back in the early 90s, of how the disease was acquired, and I knew my mother wasn't a drug addict. She wasn't in the streets, but it was a choice of being in a relationship with someone who had started to use drugs that I feel was the reason for why my mother was taken away from me. So I think I harbored a lot of negative feelings in the beginning, and like I said, not wanting anyone to think negatively about my mother, or maybe the life that she lived. She was a very healthy woman into, at that time, organic foods in the early 90s, when that's like a mainstay now, and very much into taking care of herself. But I would say maybe as a black woman, not maybe making the choice of ending a relationship that may have not been good for her. And I'm trying to, as I live my life, think of myself and the choices that I need to make for myself, and teaching that to my daughter as a woman, because often we as black women tend to put everyone before ourselves, and just learning to take care of ourselves first and getting the help and support that we need. We tend to keep a lot of things in. So that is my story that I wanted to share. Here I have 2 beautiful children, and I know my mother is with me, and I'm just glad to know that there are more resources for women, particularly women of color to be able to access. And my hope and dream is, I'm an educator and teacher, that the young women that I work with and the young people that I work with think of the choices that they're making in life, and particularly around their sexual choices and daily behaviors and habits, and related to drugs as well, that they understand the disease, that it's not something that's a death sentence anymore as what was considered, but that they receive the help that they need when they find out, and that are listening to media messages about getting tested and getting into treatment early, because that makes all the difference. Thank you.